Okay, I'm gonna start this here off with my quick rant is gonna be a very short news article that I found. Check this out. Trump doubles down, calling Hezbollah very smart. People are gonna lose their minds. Donald Trump on Friday revived a 2-week-old controversy over his description of Hezbollah terrorist attackers as very smart, posting a column on social media that sought to defend his characterization of the group, the Washington Post reports. Now, people absolutely lose their mind. Donald Trump does this all the time. He's done it with the Chinese President Xi, with Putin, with Hamas, I'm sure, with African leaders, terrorists, bad people, bad actors all across the world. He's done this with. He's called them very smart. People always lose their mind and they say, oh, Donald Trump's evil for doing that. He's just, I don't understand why they get so upset with this, okay? Anybody that's a world leader like Putin, all these people, you're not going to have somebody that's very stupid be able to run a country, regardless if that's a dictator or President Ronald Reagan. Doesn't matter. They're not going to be an idiot. They're going to be pretty smart. And take Hamas, for example. Okay, you want to call the leader of Hamas very smart. I mean, that's not really a lie, because to get around the IDF defenses, to get past their intelligence agency, to be able to send, 400 people in to kill over 1,300 Israelis, to get past all those defenses, get over there and actually pull it off. You can't be a complete idiot and do that. So Trump is just pointing out something, and it makes it sound, he does this, it's kind of stupid, but he makes it sound like he's praising them in some sort of a way. No, he's not praising them at all. He's just saying, look, these people are not idiots. They're very smart, so we have to be even smarter to take them down. That's basically what he's saying with that. Hezbollah is not idiots. Iran are not a bunch of idiots. These people are very smart, so we can't just use common tactics with these people. We have to strategize with these people, and that's all Trump is really saying. But yeah, it doesn't stop people from losing their freaking minds and turning their Trump derangement up to 11, whatever. What's up, everybody? This is Legitical Response. How's your day going? Yeah, we cover news. We cover all kind of obscure news, political stuff mostly, some cultural. We cover the stuff that you're not going to see in the mainstream media. Now, today's story, let me go ahead and pull that up right quick. And I've covered this before somewhat, but we got some further information, more confirmation from an interview that Mike Johnson did on Fox with Maria Bartiromo, I think is her name, of Sunday Futures. Speaker Johnson suggests he's open to short-term stopgap government funding measure until January 15. In other words, another one of those CRs or continuing resolutions to January 15th. But there's a caveat, and we'll get into that. And that's, I rail against those all the time, because I hate them. Just because, and I've said it before, these congressmen, man, they get paid for by these PACs and these corporations and, Lockheed and Google, and they doll them up and they give them money to do their bidding, essentially. They ask them to do something and they try to do it. It's like all the insider trading that we have going on with Congress that I hope one day they get rid of. But yeah, they buy these politicians, essentially, so they can throw stuff into these omnibus packages, especially for them. And it's frustrating to see, because that's our tax dollars that are essentially being wasted on a company who's making shitloads of profit, buttloads of profit, who could do this themselves, but they want to line their pockets a little bit more, so they get us, the taxpayers, who they are already screwing out of money, to do it for them, which makes it even more infuriating. But let's get into it. Newly elected Speaker Mike Johnson suggested on Sunday he is open to a short-term stopgap measure to keep the government funded past the November 17th deadline set under the previous funding measure from Kevin McCarthy, the establishment bastard that nobody really wanted. Took 15 votes to get in. I'm sorry, ranting again. Asked on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures if he would consider a short-term funding bill, Johnson said, "I've talked with my colleagues about this in the race for the speaker. I mentioned that I would favor, as for purpose of discussion, to building consensus around if there indeed has to be a stopgap funding measure that we would do that until January 15th. Man, I'm sorry. I kind of struggled through that one. I'm not sure why. And the reason for that is it gets us beyond the end of the year push, he continued. And oftentimes the Senate tries to jam the House and force an omnibus spending bill. That's what we got last year's omnibus spending bill right before Christmas, right before the New Year's. We're not doing that anymore. We're having single subject spending bills in our separate appropriations bills, and so pushing that onto January, I think, would assist us on that endeavor. Johnson, who was serving his second term as vice chair of the House Republican Conference, won the Speaker's gavel in a 220 to 209 party line vote, capping off over 3 weeks the turmoil in the GOP infighting in the lower chamber. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy was booted from the top leadership spot earlier this month after he brought to the House floor a clean, short-term funding bill known as a continuing resolution that averted a government shutdown just hours before funding was set to run out in a deal with Democrats. And yes, that is exactly why he got booted, because he essentially just played as a Democrat on that. He totally went against his word. He lied to the Republican conference. He lied to Matt Gaetz and them. He had since January to get these bills, these appropriations bills, rammed through in Congress, and he didn't do it. He had all that time. He wanted to focus on BS, and he lied, and he got booted for it, and rightly so. This guy is an establishment. I mean, he ran for his speakership. One of his main arguments was he has raised more money for campaign funding than any other Republican. That just blows my mind. That is one of the reasons you don't, that's just stupid to me. You don't want to say that. That just shows that you're an establishment, basically a uniparty politician that could care less about his constituents and only cares about lining his pockets, because that's all you're going to do, raising campaign funds. How the hell are you going to promote yourself as a campaign funder, the best campaign funder at that? That is so ridiculous in my mind, and is one of the reasons Congress is so screwed up and Washington is known as the swamp. Terrible, man. These people are insane if they think that the American people would sit there and listen to somebody saying, yeah, I should be Speaker of the House because I've raised more money than any other Republican. No, dude, that's why we want you out of there, you retard. Johnson said the House's first priority is getting the government funded, noting one appropriations bill that was just passed last week after he was elected Speaker. Maintaining the House is working like a well-oiled machine that is moving the bills as quickly as possible. Johnson said he thinks everyone will be on board on another stopgap measure if the lower chamber needs more time. But he's hoping that they don't. There may be some conditions put on that stopgap measure, perhaps that 1% spending cut across the board instead of becoming effective in April, Johnson said. Maybe we'd make that January 15th to incentivize the Senate to do their work. But I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, the details of it, because people sort of get lost in all of that. But I'll tell you that we're working on it in earnest to get it done, which is great news to me. He's not only separating these appropriations bill, but he's now going to push the upper chamber senators to get their fucking job done and, get these appropriations bills approved so we can get on with running the country. Thank you very much. Johnson said Sunday even the toughest fiscal conservatives are ready to get this job done. Johnson's comment followed part of his promise made in his Dear Colleague letter to the Republican conference, where he pushed for the House to pass all 12 of its appropriations measures. In the letter, he said he would propose a stopgap measure that expires on January 15th or April 15th to ensure the Senate cannot jam the House with a Christmas omnibus, just like they do every single year. Like I said before, they always do that. These politicians love doing that because it means more money in their pocket and they don't have to do as much work. We don't send these guys up there to sit on their freaking hands and not do anything and just look good in front of the cameras in their little committee hearings. Yeah, those committee hearings can be quite deceitful, I've noticed. I've watched hours and hours and hours of those committee hearings, and I tell you, they're only doing a lot of that shit for show. They only do that for us to make us think that we're doing, because once you look in to what they actually do, and this was a question I've posed before, I watch all these committee hearings and they're saying all this stuff, but yet none of their viewpoints change when, there's obvious evidence against this, and the Democrats don't change their view whatsoever, or the Republicans don't change their view whatsoever. It's like, okay, well, you see that whatever you believe and whatever you're spouting on MSNBC or Fox News isn't true, so why are you still spouting that when it's been proven false? Well, it's because they don't care. They could care less about me. They could care less about you. They could care less about the country. They only care about keeping power for themselves, and that's why this funneling of money in Washington needs to stop. These people make 6 figures a year from the government. That is a very, very good paycheck. Okay, I'm sorry. They don't need to be lining their pockets with even more money. I understand why you would want to, and I can't say I would do any different, because I haven't been in that situation. I've been a broke person my entire life. I would hope that my principles would be a lot stronger than that, but I've never been put in that position. But I must say, we do need to get rid of some of this, and the fact that some of these politicians on both sides in Congress, because I saw there's a couple of Democrats that feel this way too. Bernie Sanders was very, very anti-establishment, and he should have gotten the nomination in 2016. I'm not going to say I would have voted for him because I disagree highly with Bernie Sanders. I don't like, Medicare for everybody. I think it dilutes the healthcare system a lot. I don't like this government welfare state giving money to everybody, whether they work or not. I don't like socialism at all. I like our capitalist system that we have. I think it lifts a lot more people out of poverty and can make some people really, really rich, while socialism will never have anybody rich at all, except for the political class, the elites at the top. And that's where they'll stay. And nobody else would be able to make it to that position. But that's all I got for this one, you guys. Like I said, let me know what y'all think about all this down below, because I love hearing from y'all. Don't forget, hit that like button. And hit that subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And be positive. Peace.